Yo, what's up, guys? Cool. I think we're good. Um, Technology always hits you. Hey, okay, guys, starting something a little bit new here. I've been doing the eighth habit a little bit, but I wanted to take a step back and start with seven habits again because seven habits for me is life changing. It has drastically changed my production, my meaning in life, my purpose, my unique contribution, my self esteem, my security, literally everything about my life has been completely magnified because of following these principles. So, in this study series, I'm going to go over one section in the book and just talk about my thoughts on it, my feelings, mainly so that I can kind of understand it better myself. Stephen Covey says that the best way to understand a principle is to teach it. So that's the main goal for this podcast for this reason. But if you guys listen to it and love it and is good material, please share it with your friends because it really is life changing. If you just apply it, it's life changing. And believe me, you guys will be very very impressed. So what do you say? Give it a shot. Cool. So let's get right into it. Starting with the preface. Inside Out. Just that title means so much to me. And we'll get into it more in this, but the title Inside Out, like you have like being able to cleanse the inner vessel before cleansing the outer vessel. Christ says that a ton. And it's so, so important because we actually have the power to act on things. Like we're supposed to act and not be acted upon. And so the inside out principle is saying, look, if you truly want to change your circumstances, change yourself first. And might I add that the truly effective way to change yourself is to follow Christ. That's my belief. If you don't believe that, then like that's totally fine. Like you don't have to, but it's true. And so, changing the inside first will then change your outside, the circumstances. The ancient Jews wanted this Messiah to come enter and change the outside world so that they wouldn't have to change. That was their philosophy. They thought that this like political military leader was going to come in and save them and change the external world and then that would imply that they wouldn't have to change. But Christ doesn't create revolutions in the outside world. He creates revolutions inside the heart of every person. That's where his work is. And then that person makes changes in the external world. That's how it works. It's way more effective that way, I promise. So just that title brings so much emotion and passion, at least for me. Um, the first quote says, "There is no real excellence in all this world, which can be separated from right living." We're going to talk a little bit about the definition of success. Not like exactly like what it means, because we'll get into that in later sections. But David Starr Jordan says, "There is no real excellence in all this world, which can be separated from right living." So just living by principles, by following your conscience, by doing what's right. That's a very fine measure of success, of excellence, he says. And it's so true. And here's why. Stephen Covey says, in more than 25 years of working with people in business, university, and marriage and family settings, I have come in contact with many individuals who have achieved an incredible degree of outward success. Again, what's your definition of success? Is it money? Is it some title? Is it a job description? Is it the car you drive? Is it the house you live in? Or maybe like the price range of house that you live in? Or is it like relationships? Is it like your character? Is it how you think? Is it how credible you are to other people? Is it how you view the people? Like, what's your definition of success? How will you measure your life? It says here, they have found an incredible degree of outward success, but have found themselves struggling with an inner hunger, a deep need for personal congruency and effectiveness. that that hits really hard because it's so true. So many people, and myself included, will um will hit this stage where it's like you do something amazing and it should be awesome, but you almost feel empty inside. You almost feel like I don't actually know if that was like worth it. Like, did I actually make a difference? Did I actually help other people out? Um, and do they have like this like almost like a hole in their soul? And no, I'd not mean to rhyme that, but it's like this idea that like we want to make sure that we are having a meaningful life. Like that's what it's all about. I can have the fanciest car or the best job title or the most money or the biggest house or um, the most followers on TikTok or Snap or Instagram or whatever. But if we don't actually feel that it was worth it, that it was meaningful, then it actually wasn't. It actually was not worth it at all. And so we have to make sure like what are our values? How do we define success? Um, and guys, this is amazing. So let's keep going. Um, a deep need for personal congruency and effectiveness, and for healthy, growing relationships with other people. Relationships is where joy is in this life. I've learned that the hard way. Relationships is where joy is in this life. Okay? It just is. I remember I got stuck in Iceland for a week. A week I was stuck in Iceland. And for 3 of those days, I was all alone. Actually, yeah, it was like 3 or 4 of those days I was all alone. And wow, I was in one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Guys, Iceland is so pretty. It's so, so pretty. Like, if you ever, 10 out of 10, recommend if you ever get a chance to go, go. It's awesome. But go with people because that makes it even better. Crazy. I was in the most beautiful country in the world, but I felt empty. Completely empty. And why? I didn't have anyone to share those experiences with. The first 5 days I was there, awesome. Greatest thing of my life. I had friends there. But then they all left. I got stuck in Iceland because I may or may not have lost my passport. But I didn't have those relationships there. I didn't have anybody to share those experiences with. And so the meaning and the joy completely just fell away. Crazy experience. But um, so then Stephen Covey goes on to say, I suspect some of the problems they have shared with me may be familiar to you. So we're going to go into some of these problems here. I've set and met my career goals, and I'm having tremendous professional success, but it's cost me my personal and family life. I don't know my wife and children anymore. I'm not even sure I know myself and what's really important to me. I've had to ask myself, is it worth it? Bro, so true. Holy cow. I had a girlfriend once where um, this happened. Like, I very much was set on like my work and my schooling, kind of like outward success measurements. And I remember thinking to myself, like actually being like scared to have like a one-on-one conversation with her. Kind of wild. Like you think it's like what you would want with like that kind of re- relationship. But I genuinely was like nervous, like scared to have a conversation. We've been dating for like 2 or 3 months, and I'm like, why is this happening right now? But like I think it was because of that. Like I just didn't see the picture correctly. Um, I was focused on other things that were drawing my attention. And I wasn't focused on like her and like her well being and her happiness and joy. And it's sad. It's very, very sad. So please don't get caught in that. And we're gonna figure out how you can get out of that. Going on though. Well, actually, it says here, I'm not even sure I know myself and what's really important to me. Yeah, when you chase after a huge goal and then you realize, wow, is this actually like worth it? Who knows? Who knows? Um, I've started a new diet for the fifth time this year. I know I'm overweight and I really want to change. I read all the new information and set goals. I get myself all psyched up with a positive mental attitude and tell myself I can do it. But I don't. After a few weeks, I fizzle out. I just can't seem to keep a promise I make to myself. That's me. That is totally me. Um, I'm working on this. I'm getting better and better. It's also one reason why I'm doing this series is to do one section every day. And so we're gonna see. Um, I'm gonna do it, but I remember I was talking with my VP of sales one time about this very topic about how I just like fizzled out every time I would make a commitment to myself. I do it for 4 or 5 days and then just zone out. And we got talking pretty deep, and finally he just said, "Dude, it seems like you need to change what your definition of yourself is. Like, change the definition of who you are." Like, and it sounds more complicated than it is, and I hope I can explain this right. But he was saying like not like oh go spend 2 months like working on discipline or working on patience. Like that's not what he was saying. He was saying it sounds like you need to change your perspective of who you are, like your beliefs about who you are. Because I believed was not somebody who could make and keep a commitment. I truly believed that was not me. And so what happened? I didn't make and keep commitments to myself. I just didn't. Didn't happen. But when I shifted my beliefs, my paradigms, then all of a sudden things got a lot better. I'm not gonna say perfect, but they got a lot better. Um, cool. Going on. I've taken course after course on effective management training. I expect a lot out of my employees, and I work hard to be friendly toward them and to treat them right. But I don't feel any loyalty from them. I think if I were homesick for a day, they'd spend most of their time gabbing at the water fountain. Why can't I train them to be independent and responsible, or find employees who can be? Yep, that reminds me like loyalty and motivation. I've had several jobs where it's like, yeah, I don't really care to be here. Honestly, don't really care to be here. I'm just here to do it, to have a job. And so I think there it's a lack of a whole person paradigm, which I'll go into later. But um, yeah, I've been there, and it sucks. It sucks to have a job that doesn't motivate you at all. Like this guy is having a problem too with effective management training, but those employees are also having problems with finding enjoyment in their job. Like that's why they're going to get at the water fountain because they don't like their job. Well, how do you fix that? That's a great question. Sorry for another time. My teenage son is rebellious and on drugs. No matter what I try, he won't listen to me. What can I do? Yep. Many of you might know I actually do sales with Moxie, and it's amazing. I love it. But one thing that has always stuck out to me is people are always like, yeah, like I want to do like the easy sales. Like I want to live like I just want to be like more comfortable and like live like the normal life, I guess. But what's really cool about this is that that's what I think of when I go knocking doors, cold contacting people, and like learning how to gain their trust quickly. Um, how to gain massive trust very quickly. When my I think of the moment when my kids are not buying into the values that my wife and I have set, or not buying into like the gospel, the things that matter most, when they're breaking themselves against principles, when they're living a life of short term pleasure but long term misery. How do you approach that? How do you like talk to your kid and be like, hey, that's bad, while still maintaining a healthy relationship? Well, like getting into like listen to you. Like, how do you actually do that? And I feel like I'm like learning those skills both on the doors and reading this book and applying them in my personal life. And so that's like gets with me really excited because it's gonna happen, like it is. Like kids are gonna be kids, and so I'm really excited to be able to do that. I'm really excited to be able to help my kids out see the light. But there's so much to do, and there's never enough time. I feel pressured and hassled all day, every day, 7 days a week. I've attended time management seminars and I've tried half a dozen different planning systems. They've helped some, but I still don't feel I'm living the happy, productive life or the happy, productive, and peaceful life I want to live. Yeah, doing a lot. You're going to school, you're dating, you're working, you're doing a lot of the urgent things in your life that need to get done. Um, but there's not a lot of important things that are getting done. So a lot of quadrant one activities there. Um, and just like probably is also probably lack of understanding of like your true innermost values, like what actually motivates and like empowers you. Which I've been there, definitely. I've been there, and probably to a degree I still am. Honestly, I've got a lot of work to do. Um, but I think I have a better perspective on it after reading this book. But I'm going back over it because it's so good. Um, I want to teach my children the value of work, but to get them to do anything, I have to surprise every move and put up with complaining every step of the way. It's so much easier to do it myself. Why can't children do their work cheerfully and without being reminded? Yeah, that's facts. I actually know a couple who they tell me that all the time. Like, yeah, our kids just like don't do anything. And, like, no, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Like we have to supervise every move. We have to grab them by the arm and yank them and make them do it. And it's like, yeah, like it's a painful problem. That sucks as a parent, and that sucks as a kid. I wonder what a better solution is. Hmm. I guess we'll find out in this series. Um, I'm busy, really busy. Sometimes I wonder if what I'm doing will make any difference in the long run. I'd really like to think there was meaning in my life, that somehow things were different because I was here. I've been asking myself this question a lot of why does it matter? Like, why does it matter that someone should be principal centered? Why does it matter that I should have a MacBook instead of a Windows? Why does it matter that I should value gratitude instead of disloyalty? Like, why does it matter that I should rent instead of buying a home? Like, why does it like what? Like, what's the point? Like, why does it matter? Why is it important? Like, everything that I do, I've been starting asking that. Like, why is it important that I'm eating ice cream or chicken nuggets? It's like I don't actually know. I think it's just for pleasure because it like tastes really good. But like, what nutrients am I getting from it? Not a whole lot. And so that's been a really cool insight too with the food that I've eaten. Being able to readjust, like question my assumptions on on the food that I, I'm eating. Cool. So going on, I see my friends or relatives achieve some degree of success or receive some recognition, and I smile and congratulate them enthusiastically. But inside, I'm eating my heart out. Why do I feel this way? Wow. Yep, that all the time. I have buddies who do amazing things, amazing achievements, and I'm always like, freak, dude. Like, why do I suck so bad? Like, I'm happy for him, but like, I'm just like terrible at what I do. Like, those thoughts go through my mind, and like, are they true? No, they're not. But those thoughts go through my mind, and it creates those feelings of inadequacy, of insecurity, of jealous. Like, honestly, it does. And I've gotten a lot better at that by becoming principal centered, but it's like still there a little bit. So we're working on it. Um, I have a forceful personality. I know in almost any interaction, I can control the outcome. Most of the time, I can even do it by influencing others to come up with the solution I, I want. I think through each situation, and I really feel the ideas I come up with are usually the best for everyone. But I feel uneasy. I always wonder what other people will really think of me and my ideas. This reminds me of something that Stephen Covey talks about the tenderness within. So, hear me out for a second. Stick with me. Here is a very forceful fellow who gets his way, who shows dominance, probably in his family life, in his work life, with his friends. He's very much like the talk of the show, very much like everyone looks up to him. But he's stating here there's this insecurity of like, yeah, I like get my way, but like, does it actually matter? Like, what are people thinking of me? I hope you're catching what I'm saying. Like, this powerful dude has this massive insecurity in basing his self esteem in what the opinions of other people think of him. This is probably still is, but was definitely me. I did this all the time. Literally compared myself and my self esteem to the opinions of others. But the thing is that I didn't even know their opinions. And I still staked my self esteem in this illusion of their opinion. Like I didn't actually know what their opinion was. I didn't ask them, didn't solicit it, but I still staked my self esteem in a perceived illusionary opinion that someone might have of me that is probably inaccurate. It sounds crazy, but I did this all the time, and I'm getting out of it. But like when you really think about it, it's like, why would you do that? It's the stupidest thing ever. But like we all do it. I did it all the time. I still do it. And so, oh, it's so good, guys. It's so good. Um, also deals a lot with your reputation. Think on that. Next one. My marriage has gone flat. We don't fight or anything. We just don't love each other anymore. We've gone to counseling. We've tried a number of things, but we just can't seem to rekindle the feeling we used to have. Yep, been there. Definitely. Not with marriage, but like with relationships in the past. Definitely. Um, it's a painful experience to not love someone. Frankly, in that kind of relationship, it's hard to be with them, to give of your time and your energy if you don't have those like emotional connections and emotional feelings. It's really hard. Um, especially like I can only imagine, but especially when you've like committed to living with this person and for building a life together and then those things disappear. It's like that is really, really painful. It's really hard to to keep going. And all these problems are all valid. Like I know I've been saying some stuff like, oh, this is how you fix it, this is what it is, and like um that's like maybe that's true, but like I want to take a step back and say these are all real things that people actually struggle that I've struggled with. They're like real common problems, but as Stephen Covey says, they're deep. They're he says here, these are deep problems, painful problems, problems that quick fix approaches can't solve. It requires time, the principle of time, not but like not just time. It requires time and like effectiveness. It requires like the right prescription. But so many people get the diagnosis wrong that the prescription's off as well. And so in this book, we're going to learn about true principles and how if we can center ourselves on those, we can achieve maximum power and capacity, and we can get to the roots of our problems. Because an evil fruit or a corrupt tree will always bring forth evil fruit. And so if you work on pruning the branches or trimming the branches down, if the roots are still evil, you're still going to get evil fruit. Same thing with good tree, with the good tree, or an incorrupt tree. An incorrupt tree will always bring forth good fruit. And That's because the branch, or sorry, the roots are set. They're firm and they're healthy. That's why the fruit is good. Really interesting story here. Um, this is like really fascinating. It says here a few years ago, my wife Sandra and I were struggling with this kind of concern. So a deep problem, a painful problem. You have to look at the roots, not just the branches. One of our sons was having a very difficult time in school. He was doing poorly academically, didn't even know how to follow the instructions on the tests, let alone do well on them. Socially, he was immature, often embarrassing was closest to him. Athletically, he was small, skinny, and uncoordinated, swinging his baseball bat, for example, almost before the ball was even pitched. Others would laugh at him. Sandra and I were consumed with a desire to help him. We felt that if success, in quotation marks, was important in any area of life, it was supremely important in our role as parents. So we worked on our attitudes and behaviors toward him, and we tried to work on his. So their son, essentially, they paint this picture that he's small, he's skinny, he's awkward, he's not very intelligent, um, can't can't even like swing a baseball bat, even remotely close to when the ball is close to him, like a laughing stock. Essentially, is what they've portrayed him as. Um, and so, two things there that I think are really interesting is he acts this way. Who gave him his personal belief of who he is? Because he believes he's all of these things. He believes that he's not intelligent. He believes that he's awkward. He believes that he's small. He believes that he needs a protection. Who gave him that script? Who gave him the belief? Check this out. Sandra and I were consumed with a desire to help him. Now, consumed with a desire. As we read on, we'll talk about this, but it's really fascinating how why were they consumed with a desire? Was it a desire out of like pure love to help him out? Or was it a desire to be better parents? Ready for this? The next line says, we felt that if success was important in any area of life, it was supremely important in our role as parents. So, what are they saying? That they were more focused on their success as parents than they were focused on their children's success, independent of what other people thought of them as good or bad parents. I hope that clicks because that's fascinating. It's very interesting how, yes, they had this love and this desire to help him out, but was it based in true love, a true concern and compassion for their child? Or was the real root and desire in in the fact that they wanted to be perceived as good parents, and that if their children didn't act in what's considered socially as correctly or normally, that would impact their reputation or the opinions of other people about them as parents. Think on that. So we worked on our attitudes and behavior toward him, and we tried to work on his. We attempted to psych him up using positive mental attitude techniques. Come on, son. You can do it. We know you can. Put your hands a little higher on the bat and keep your eye on the ball. Don't swing until it gets close to you. And if he did a little better, we would go to great lengths to reinforce him. That's good, son. Keep it up. When others laughed, we reprimanded them. Leave him alone. Get off his back. He's just learning. And our son would cry and insist that he'd never be any good when he didn't like baseball anyway. Wow. So, like, from this, like, you think they're great parents. Like, you would. You generally would think, yeah, like, they're, like, they're encouraging him. They're trying to help him out. They're, like, helping him by shooing away these other people. But watch this. It says here, nothing we did seemed to help. And we were really worried. Again, why are they worried? Is it truly about their child, or is it actually about their role as parents, about the perception of others onto them? We could see the effect this was having on his self esteem. We tried to be encouraging and helpful and positive, but after repeated failure, we finally drew back and tried to look at the situation on a different level. At this time in my professional role, I was involved in leadership development work with various clients throughout the country. In that capacity, I was preparing bi-monthly programs on the subject of communication and perception for IBM's executive development program participants. As I researched and prepared these presentations, I became particularly interested in how perceptions are formed, how they govern the way we see, and how the way we see governs how we behave. So perceptions, the way we see, um, sorry, perceptions govern the way we see things, and how we see things governs how we behave. This led me to a study of expectancy theory and self-fulfilling prophecies, or the Pygmalion effect, and to a realization of how deeply embedded our perceptions are. It taught me that we must look at the lens through which we see the world as well as at the world we see. And the lens itself shapes how we interpret the world. So, an example of this, okay, try this, okay? This is actually super cool. Try this. Go to a random stranger, like you've never met before, and view him as if he's your best friend. He's gonna think you're weird for a little bit, but I promise you, if you view him as your best friend and act accordingly, he'll also act like you're his best friend. It's wild. Like you won't actually go through this like awkward phase of like trying to get to know each other. Just like no, like we're best friends. Like and like if you like view him like that, then you'll start acting like best friends. It's crazy, and like he'll just buy into it. He'll buy into it, or she'll buy into it, whoever it is, and it's magic. It's awesome. Um, it says here, as Sandra and I talked about the concepts I was teaching at IBM and about our own situation, we began to realize that what we were doing to help our son was not in harmony with the way we really saw him. When we honestly examined our deepest feelings, we realized that our perception was that he was basically inadequate, somehow behind. So their actions, although they were encouraging and quote unquote helpful, they implied that he was inadequate, that he needed a protection, that he wasn't good enough. So no wonder he had such a low self-esteem, because that's what their actions implied. No matter how much we worked on our attitude and behavior, our efforts were ineffective because despite our actions and our words, what we really communicated to him was, you aren't capable. You have to be protected. We began to realize that if we wanted to change the situation, we first had to change ourselves. And to change ourselves effectively, we first had to change our perceptions. So many times, again, they're hacking at the branches, right? Which it seems logical to do that. But then they had to take a step back and say, no, let's look at this at a different level, at a deeper level, at a deeper root of the problem. And so let's change our perceptions so we can change ourselves so we can change him. Pretty cool stuff. That's going to be more of habit 1, 2 is being proactive and taking responsibility and learning that by changing ourselves, by developing the inside out approach, we can actually change our external um, circumstances and have a great influence on people for good or for evil, whichever one you choose. Hopefully for good. Hopefully you value true and correct principles. Um, but that's kind of what that's that section. So super good though. Talks about deep rooted problems and how perceptions are what govern the way we see those problems and how we act and behave. And that these are deep problems and painful problems that we can't just strike at the branches. We have to go to the root problems to look at the lens through which we see the world and to look at the world itself. And that can include the world, how we view ourselves, and how we view other people. And by changing our perceptions, we can change our attitudes and behaviors in quantum levels of improvement. So, guys, I hope you really like this material. I'm going to keep doing this every day. So I commit I'm going to make a video every day and talk about one section. And so thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Enjoy.